The wind howled through the narrow streets of New Seattle like a ghost lost in time. Dust from the Martian trade ships mixed with Earth's rain, creating a strange mist that clung to everything. Elias Vance pulled his coat tighter and walked fast. He didn't like being out late, not since the alien refugees started arriving in waves. Earth had opened its doors to off-worlders after the Galactic Accord, but not everyone was happy about it. There were rumors, some true, some not, about aliens taking jobs, breaking laws, or worse. Elias didn't care much for politics. He was just a terraforming engineer trying to make ends meet. As he reached his apartment building, something moved near the stairs. At first he thought it was a stray dog. Then he saw her. She was curled up under a torn tarp, shivering violently. Her skin wasn't human. It shimmered faintly in the dim light, like blue glass under moonlight. Her eyes, wide and scared, met his. She looked hurt. Elias stopped. He should have kept walking. He knew better than to get involved, but she looked so small, so cold. "You okay?" he asked, voice soft. She flinched, said nothing. He crouched down slowly, careful not to scare her. "You're freezing. You need help?" Her lips trembled. She tried to speak, but only broken words came out. Please, no. Take me." Elias frowned. "Take you where?" She shook her head, tears forming. "No. Hurt. No hurt." He sighed. Logic told him this could be trouble, but something deep inside told him to do the right thing. "I live upstairs," he said gently. "I can give you food, warmth. Just, come on." She hesitated, then nodded. Helping her stand was harder than he expected. She was weak, barely able to walk. Her body felt colder than it should. He half carried her up the 2 flights of stairs to his apartment. Inside, he sat her on the couch and grabbed a blanket. She wrapped herself in it like a cocoon. "Wait here," he said. "I'll get soup." She watched him carefully as he moved. Around the kitchen, he handed her the warm bowl. She sniffed it, then took a slow sip. Her face lit up slightly. "Tastes like home." Elias smiled. "Glad to hear it." They sat in silence for a while. Then she spoke again, slowly. "You be kind, not like others." "I try to be," he said. She looked down. "They chase me." "Who does?" She didn't answer. Elias studied her. She wore torn clothes, too thin for Earth's weather. A strange symbol was marked on her. Wrist, a circle with lines inside. It looked old, almost burned into her skin. He didn't know what it meant. "Can I see that?" he asked. She pulled back her sleeve, revealing more symbols glowing faintly under her skin. One blinked red. "That's tech," he said, surprised. "Alien biotech?" She nodded. "Track me." His stomach dropped. "Someone's tracking you?" She didn't answer. Elias stood. "All right, let's see if I can disable it." He grabbed his toolkit from work. He worked carefully, scanning the signal. It was weak but active, sending data somewhere far away. He frowned. "This is broadcasting your location." She gasped softly. He looked at her. "If I shut it down, they won't find you. But I don't know what else it does. Could be important." She looked at him, eyes full of fear, but also trust. "Please," she whispered. "Make it stop." He nodded. Tools in hand, he got to work. Hours passed. Outside, the storm grew louder. Inside, Elias focused on the tiny device embedded in her skin. It wasn't easy, but he managed to isolate the signal and cut the power. The blinking light went dark. Lyra let out a shaky breath. For the first time in days, she felt safe. Elias leaned back, exhausted. "Well, whoever was tracking you, they can't anymore." She stared at him for a long moment, then quietly she said, "You saved me." He shrugged. "Just did what anyone should." She looked at the floor. "Not many like you." Elias smiled tiredly. "Maybe not." He got up and grabbed another blanket. "You can sleep here tonight. Couch is comfy enough." She looked unsure. You, not afraid? He paused. Should I be? She shook her head. No, I not hurt you. Good, he said. Then we're all set. He turned off the lights and walked to his room. Before closing the door, he glanced back. She was already asleep, curled up like before, but now with warmth, safety, and hope. What neither of them knew was that the signal hadn't just gone dark. It had been seen, and someone far away had taken notice. Morning light slipped through the blinds and danced across the floor. Elias stirred awake, still tired from the night before. He walked out to the living room. She was gone. His heart jumped. Lyra? A soft voice answered from the kitchen. Here. He found her standing by the sink, trying to wash the bowl she used for soup. Her hands were shaking slightly, but she was trying. You didn't have to do that, he said gently. She looked up. I want to help. Elias smiled. All right, but take it easy. You're still weak. Over the next few days, Lyra slowly opened up. She spoke more clearly now, though her accent was thick and some words came out wrong. Still, Elias listened. He asked questions, and bit by bit, her story began to unfold. She told him she came from a planet called Zilara, far beyond the Orion Belt. It was once a peaceful world ruled by a royal family, her family. I was second in line, she said, one evening sitting on the couch with a warm drink in hand. My brother was first, then the war came. Elias sat quietly, letting her speak at her own pace. Rebels rose up, she continued. They killed my parents, my brother. He tried to stop them. They took him. I ran. Her voice broke. For a moment she looked like she might cry, but she held it back. They hunt me still, she whispered, because I am last. Elias felt his chest tighten. He had heard stories about the fall of the Zalari Empire. It was all over the news weeks ago, but he never thought he'd be sitting in the same room as a real alien princess. You're safe here, he said. She looked at him. You not afraid? I am royalty. That is dangerous. He shrugged. Maybe, but you're also just someone who needs help, and I'm not going to turn you away. She studied him for a long time. Then slowly she smiled. From that day on, something changed between them. Elias started teaching her human things, how to use Earth tech, how to read signs, how to cook simple food. She was fast to learn, smarter than most people he knew. One afternoon, he showed her how to play music. This is Earth music, he said, pressing a button on his old speaker. Soft guitar notes filled the room. Lyra tilted her head, listening carefully. What is this? She asked. It's called blues. People play it when they feel sad or lost. She closed her eyes. It sounds lonely. Elias nodded. Yeah, sometimes it is. She sat down beside him. We both are lonely. He looked at her, surprised. She met his gaze. You live alone. No family near. No friends often visit. He chuckled. You've been paying attention. She smiled. I watch. I listen. The music played on. Later that week, Elias brought home a book of Earth stories. He flipped through it and pointed at one. This one's called The Little Prince. It's about a boy who travels space, looking for love and meaning. Lyra leaned closer. Tell me. And so he did. Night after night they shared stories, about Earth, about Zilara, about life, loss, and hope. They laughed sometimes. Other times they sat in silence, just enjoying each other's company. But outside, danger was growing. One morning, Elias turned on the news and froze. Breaking. Zalari rebels expand search for missing royal heir. Bounty increased to 500,000 credits. His stomach dropped. He turned to Lyra. They're getting closer. She looked pale. They will find me. No, he said firmly. Not while I'm here. She stared at him. Why you help me? I am stranger. He smiled softly. You're not a stranger anymore. Outside the wind howled again, but inside, two hearts beat a little stronger. Neither of them knew what tomorrow would bring. But for now they had each other. Lyra grew stronger. Her voice became steadier, her movements more confident. She still wore Elias's old clothes, too big for her small frame, but she carried herself like someone used to power and pride. Elias watched her change with quiet admiration. She was no longer just a lost girl hiding from monsters. She was becoming something more, and so was their bond. One evening, they sat on the balcony of his apartment. The city lights below blinked like stars that had fallen to earth. A soft breeze played with Lyra's silver blue hair. Do you miss it? Elias asked. You're home? She looked at the sky. Yes, and no. My world is gone, but my heart remembers. Elias nodded. He didn't know what it felt like to lose a planet, but he knew what it meant to lose family. His parents had died years ago. Since then, life had been quiet, lonely, until now. I'm glad you're here, he said softly. Lyra turned to him. I am too. They sat in silence for a while. Then she smiled, a real warm smile, and said, You teach me many things. Now I teach you. Elias raised an eyebrow. What can you possibly teach me? She stood up and walked inside. He followed. From under her sleeve, she pulled out a small device built into her wrist. It glowed faintly. This is Zalari tech. Very old. Very smart. What does it do? She pressed a button. A small hologram appeared above her hand, an image of a broken hoverbike engine. This, she said, is your bike. Elias stared. You scanned it? She nodded proudly. Yes, and I fixed it in data. You only need to follow steps. He laughed. You fixed my junker bike using alien magic? She tilted her head. Not magic, science. He studied the hologram carefully. To his surprise, it actually worked. Every step made sense. Lyra, this is amazing. She beamed. That night, they went to work together. Elias handled the tools, and Lyra guided him through each move with calm precision. It wasn't easy, but it was fun. For the first time, they weren't just two people sharing space. They were a team. After hours of work, the engine roared to life. Elias grinned. We did it! Lyra hugged him without thinking. They both froze. Then slowly, she let go, cheeks glowing slightly blue. Sorry, she whispered. Elias shook his head. No problem, but his heart was pounding. Later that week, they ran into trouble. Elias came home early one day to find Lyra pacing nervously. They are near, she said. How do you know? She held up her wrist. The red light was blinking again. No, Elias muttered. I thought I shut it off. It came back, she said. Something triggered it. Elias cursed under his breath. Damn it. Maybe when we used the scanner, last week, some systems might have picked up the signal. Lyra looked scared. They will come. He took her hands gently. Then we leave before they find us. She met his eyes. You would run with me? Yes, he said without hesitation. You're not alone anymore. Tears filled her eyes. You are kind. Too kind. He smiled. Maybe, but I don't care. I won't let them take you. Outside, the city buzzed as usual. Inside, two hearts beat faster than before. That night, they packed quietly. Elias found himself watching her often, wondering how this alien woman had become such a part of his life. Wondering if maybe, just maybe, he was falling for her. But he didn't say it. Not yet. Because even though he wanted to protect her, a part of him feared the future. She was royalty, a queen in hiding, and he was just a man who fixed machines. How could someone like him ever belong to someone like her? As they stepped outside into the cool night air, A distant sound echoed through the streets. Engines, footsteps, searchlights flickered in the distance. They weren't safe anymore. Go, Elias whispered. They ran. Through alleys, across rooftops, past sleeping robots and silent drones. They reached the edge of the city where Elias had hidden his old transport pod. Inside, Lyra turned to him. You risk everything for me, she said. Why? He looked into her deep, glowing eyes. Because, he said, you matter to me. Her lips trembled, then softly she whispered, you matter to me too. And for the first time she leaned forward and kissed him. It was short, gentle, but it changed everything. As the pod lifted off and left Earth behind, neither of them spoke. They didn't need to, because in that moment, they both knew. This was only the beginning. The stars passed slowly outside the transport pod window. Elias sat across from Lyra, watching her closely. She hadn't spoken much since they left Earth. Her eyes were tired but full of thought. They had escaped. Just barely. But now came the hard part. What next? The ship's small light flickered above them. Outside, space stretched endlessly in all directions. Inside, two hearts beat with quiet fear and hope. Lyra finally looked up. You gave me new life, she said softly. Elias shook his head. You did that yourself. She smiled slightly. Still, I would be dead without you. He leaned forward. You're not alone anymore. She met his eyes. For a moment, silence filled the cabin. Not awkward, but warm, like a shared secret. Then, the ship beeped, incoming signal. Elias frowned. We're not far enough yet. Lyra stood and checked the screen. Her face paled. It's him, she whispered. Who? My old aide. Varek. Elias didn't like the sound of that. The message opened on the screen. Princess Lyra. We know you are alive. You have a choice to make. Return and take your place among us, or live in shadows forever. The war is not over, but it can be won, with you. Lyra stared at the words like they were fire. Elias touched her shoulder. What do you want to do? She turned to him. I don't know. He nodded. That's okay. She looked at him again. If I go back on, I leave you behind. Elias swallowed. He had known this might happen, that one day she'd be pulled back into the world of kings and queens and wars. But he wasn't ready to let go. I'm just a man who fixes things, he said quietly. Not a hero, not a warrior. She stepped closer. You are more than that, he smiled weakly. Maybe, but you belong out there. She shook her head. No, I belong where I feel safe, and that's with you. He looked surprised. She reached for his hand. Tell me what you want, Elias Vance. He took a deep breath. I want to wake up every morning and see you beside me, he said. I want to teach you Earth songs. I want to eat bad food with you. I want to build something real. She smiled. Then we build it together. Outside, the stars shone brighter. Inside, two hearts beat faster. They traveled for weeks, from one forgotten moon to another, from smuggler worlds to lost colonies. They changed names, kept low, and worked odd jobs to survive. Elias fixed machines. Lyra learned human ways. Slowly, they built a quiet life. But trouble followed. One night, while hiding on a dusty mining planet, bounty hunters came. Elias was working on an old cargo loader when the alarms rang. Lyra ran to him. They found us, she said. Elias cursed under his breath. How? She looked scared. My implant, it must have reactivated. He remembered the tiny device embedded in her skin, the one that once sent out signals. I thought I shut it off. So did I. They had no time to argue. Gunfire cracked. Through the air. Smoke rose from the edge of the town. Elias grabbed her hand. We run. They moved fast through narrow alleys and broken buildings, Lyra used alien tech to hide their trail. Elias led them to the only escape, a stolen hoverbike hidden in an old garage. They jumped on, engines roared, and they flew. Behind them, the hunters chased. Lasers shot past their heads. Elias held tight to the controls. Lyra fired back with a small pistol, her aim sharp even at high speed. Finally, they dove into a sandstorm, vanishing into the dust. Hours later, they landed on a hidden island floating in the sky, a refuge for outcasts, a home for those the galaxy had forgotten. It was ugly, loud, full of strange people, but it was safe. For now. That night, as they sat by a small fire, Elias looked at Lyra. "You could have gone back," he said. "To Varric, to your people." She shook her head. "I chose you." He smiled. "Even if I'm just a mechanic?" She kissed him gently. "You are my home," she whispered. He held her close. Outside, the wind howled. Inside, two hearts beat, as one. The stars passed slowly outside the ship's window. Lyra sat at the pilot's seat, her glowing eyes scanning the galaxy ahead. Behind her, Elias tinkered with an old Earth radio trying to get a clear signal. They had been on the run for weeks. From hidden moons to abandoned space stations, they moved quietly, staying off major routes and avoiding scanners. But hiding wasn't enough anymore. They needed help. And more importantly, they needed allies. One night, while parked on a forgotten asteroid base, Lyra turned to Elias. "We cannot keep running," she said. "We must fight." Elias looked up from his tools. "Fight who? The whole damn galaxy?" She shook her head. "Not all. Just those who hurt my people. Those who hunt me." He sighed. "That still sounds like half the galaxy." Lyra stood, tall. "I was born to lead. I may have lost my throne, but not my duty." Elias studied her. This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about justice. "All right," he said. "Let's start small. Who do we know that might help us?" They found their first ally on a mining colony near the edge of known space. His name was Korak, a massive alien with thick skin and a voice like thunder. Once a general in the Zalari army, he had survived the fall of the Empire by hiding among human smugglers. When he saw Lyra walk into his bar, he dropped his drink. "My queen?" he whispered. Lyra stepped forward. "I am no queen yet, but I will be if you stand with me." Korak fell to one knee. "I serve you always." Elias raised an eyebrow. "Well, that was easy." It wasn't long before others followed. A human, hacker named Jax, joined them after they helped him escape a bounty hunter trap. A pair of twin pilots from a destroyed moon base offered their ships. Even a few ex-Zalari soldiers found them, drawn by whispers of the Ghost Queen, rising again. Soon, they weren't just two fugitives hiding in space. They were the heart of a growing rebellion. Elias became the team's strategist. He didn't wear armor or carry weapons, but he knew machines better than anyone. He fixed broken tech, built traps, and hacked enemy systems with clever tricks and stolen parts. Lyra led from the front. She spoke to the people. She gave speeches through smuggled broadcasts, telling stories of hope, unity, and freedom. Slowly, the galaxy began to listen. People called her the Ghost Queen, a ruler who had died, only to return stronger. And Elias? They called him the Spark, because without him she wouldn't have risen. But war was never clean. During a raid on a rebel supply station, they lost 3 good friends. One of them was Jax. Elias blamed himself. "I should have seen the trap." He muttered later that night, staring at Jax's broken hacking pad. Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder. "You are not a soldier. You are a builder, a thinker." He looked at her. "Then why does it feel like I'm breaking apart?" She sat beside him. "Because you care." They stayed quiet for a moment. Then she asked softly, "Do you regret this life?" Elias looked at her. at everything they had built together. "No," he said. "Never," she smiled. "Then we go on." As months passed, their rebellion grew stronger. They took back colonies, freed prisoners, disrupted warlord supply lines. But the real turning point came when they captured a secret data vault from one of the warlords. Inside was proof, videos, documents, records, showing how the rebels had lied, how they had killed innocent aliens, and humans alike to gain power. Lyra held the drive in her hand like a weapon. "This," she said, "is how we win hearts." Elias grinned. Time to make some noise. They sent the files to every news network, pirate broadcast, and rebel channel they could find. The truth spread like fire. Some warlords defected. Others were arrested by galactic peacekeepers. Entire planets rose up in protest. The tide had turned. One night, as the stars shone brighter than ever, Lyra and Elias stood on the deck of their new command ship. "It's working," Elias said. "People are really listening." Lyra nodded. "Yes, but the war is not over." He looked at her. "You could rule them, you know. The whole galaxy would follow you." She turned to him. "Only if you stand beside me." Elias smiled. "I think I already do." She reached for his hand, and for the first time, she didn't let go. The message came through late at night, a single line on Elias's screen. "They found us." Lyra read it over his shoulder. Her face turned cold. "They know where we are," she whispered. Elias stood up fast. "We have to warn everyone." The base was quiet, too quiet. Most of their allies were resting after a long day of planning their next strike. But that peace shattered when the first explosion rocked the ground. A warlord fleet had arrived. Hundreds of enemy ships hovered above the hidden colony. Bombs rained down. Fire lit up the sky. Elias grabbed Lyra's hand. "We have to move." They ran through the halls of the command center. Alarms screamed, people shouted, smoke filled the air. Korak met them outside, already in armor. "My queen, we must leave now." "No," Lyra said firmly. "We fight." Korak looked surprised, but nodded. "Then let's show them what we're made of." Elias wasn't a soldier. He didn't wear armor or carry a gun, but he knew machines better than anyone. And right now, they needed every advantage they could get. "I'll shut down their comms," he said. "Buy us time." Lyra looked at him. "You can't go alone." "I won't be alone," he said. "I've got you." She smiled slightly, then kissed him quickly on the cheek. "Come back to me," she said. "I will," he promised, and then they split up. Elias and a small team of rebels sneaked through the burning base toward the enemy landing zone. Their goal: disable the main communications tower on the enemy flagship before more help arrived. It was a suicide mission, but someone had to do it. They reached the outskirts of the camp without being seen. The ship loomed above like a monster from old stories. Jax's old hacking drone buzzed beside Elias. It had been repaired and reprogrammed for one last job. "You ready?" Elias asked the drone. It beeped once. Good enough. Using stolen uniforms and forged IDs, they boarded the ship. Inside, guards patrolled the halls. Weapons were everywhere. Elias held his breath as they passed checkpoint after checkpoint. They reached the engine room. "This is it," Elias whispered. "Let's fry their systems." The drone zipped forward, plugging into the main console. Numbers flashed across the screen. Then, a voice behind them. "Stop right there." Elias turned slowly. A tall warlord officer pointed a plasma rifle at his chest. "Well, well," the officer sneered. "If it isn't the human who thinks he can play with gods." Elias swallowed hard. "I just fix things." The officer laughed. "Too bad you won't live to fix this." Before he could pull the trigger, a shot rang out. The officer dropped. Behind him stood Lyra, smoke rising from her pistol. Elias blinked. "How did you—" "I told you," she said. "You don't go anywhere without me." He grinned. "Glad to hear it." Back on the battlefield, Korak led the charge. Human and alien rebels fought side by side. Lasers lit up the sky. Explosions echoed across the land. They were outnumbered, but not outmatched, because they believed in something real, in freedom, in unity, in her. As the warlord commander prepared to retreat, Lyra stepped onto the battlefield. She stood tall, glowing, eyes locked on the enemy. "You think you can destroy my people?" she shouted. "You think you can silence us forever?" Her voice carried through the battlefield, boosted by the very comm system Elias had just disabled. Only now, it was broadcasting. Her message instead: "I am Lyra of Zilara, last heir of my people, and I return not for revenge but for justice." The rebels roared, the warlord paled, and then, the tide turned. The enemy began to fall back. Some surrendered, others fled. Victory was theirs. Later that night, the survivors gathered around a fire. Elias sat beside Lyra, tired but alive. "You did it," he said. "You really did it." She looked at him. "No, we did." He smiled. "Still feels unreal." She leaned against him. "What now?" He thought for a moment. "Now, we build something better." She nodded. "With you, I believe we can." Across the field, the rebels cheered. The stars above seemed brighter than ever. The war was over, but their story had only just begun. The skies were clear again. The stars shone bright above the rebuilt colony on the edge of known space. Trees had been planted where bombs once fell. Children played where soldiers once fought. Peace had come. But for Lyra and Elias, life was only just beginning. Months after the final battle, the galaxy came together to form a new government, a council made up of humans and aliens alike, built on trust, unity, and hope. Lyra was offered a seat, not as a queen, not as a warrior, but as a leader who had earned her place. She accepted, with one condition: that Elias be by her side. They stood together at the heart of the galactic hall, surrounded by diplomats, scientists, and leaders from across the stars. Elias wore a simple suit. Lyra wore a robe of deep blue, lined with silver thread that shimmered like starlight. She spoke first. "I was born into power," she said, voice strong yet kind. "But I learned what true strength is not in palaces or armies, but in kindness, in sacrifice, and in love." She looked at Elias, smiled. "And I found that love in the most unexpected place, in the home of a human who saw me not as royalty, but as a person in need." The crowd listened, silent. Elias stepped forward. "I'm not a diplomat," he said with a small laugh. "I fix machines. That's it. But I believe in people, and I believe in her." A soft cheer rose from the crowd. Lyra turned to him. "You have always believed in me, even when I didn't believe in myself." Elias smiled. "That's what friends are for." But they both knew they were more than friends now. Later that night, under the light of twin moons, they walked through the gardens of the Peace Compound. The air smelled of blooming earth flowers and alien vines. "You did it," Elias said. "You changed the galaxy." Lyra looked at him. "We changed it, together." He chuckled. "Still weird to think I went from fixing hover bikes to helping run a galactic peace treaty." She nudged him gently. "You are full of surprises." They sat on a bench overlooking the city lights below. After a quiet moment, Elias spoke again. "Do you ever miss your old life?" she thought. "Sometimes, but my past was pain. My future is here." He looked at her, serious now. "What if someone else takes over? What if you don't need me anymore?" She took his hand. "I will always need you," she said softly, "because you gave me something no palace ever could." "What's that?" he asked. "A home." They sat close, shoulder to shoulder, and, for the first time in a long time, everything felt right. Years passed. The galaxy healed. New colonies rose. Old wounds closed. And among the stars, a new symbol of peace grew stronger. The Human-Alien Unity Council became the heart of diplomacy, and, at its center, Lyra and Elias. But their lives weren't all speeches and meetings. At home, they lived simply. They adopted 2 children, one human boy named Kyle, and one Zalari girl named Naya. Kyle loved Earth stories. Naya loved building machines. Together, they ran through the fields behind their house, chasing each other while Elias watched from the porch. Lyra joined him, holding 2 cups of warm tea. "They grow fast," she said. Elias smiled. Like weeds, she handed him a cup. "Thank you." "For what?" "For everything." He sipped his tea. "Just doing what I do best, fixing things." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "You fixed me," she whispered. He kissed her forehead. "You fixed me too." One evening, as the sun set behind distant mountains, the family gathered outside. Naya held a small robot she had built herself. Kale showed off his drawing of a spaceship. Elias watched them play, proud. Lyra sat beside him. "You were right," she said. "About what?" "That we could build something better." He nodded. "We did." She looked at the sky. "The stars feel closer now." "They always were," Elias said. "We just finally reached for them." And as the stars blinked above, shining like tiny promises across the dark, 2 hearts beat in harmony. Once strangers, now lovers, now family, now legends.